I'm a software engineer, I would say, by education and also by background. I've done many things: development, product management. I've done some front office support in a bank before, so I've been exposed to all sorts of jobs in development on, I would say, more generally IT organization. And I think I was exposed enough to to start to feel the pain that there can be when you don't write application in the state of the art. And I'm not talking about yeah, it's a wrong word. I'm not even talking about something which should be incredibly high standard. I'm just talking about just following what should be industry standard, but it's so rare that now we talk about doing it by the state of the art. So I started a job in a smaller company after going into like startup banks, and I had a team of young developers. I mean, they were young by their seniority, but they were not young by their age, and it was really difficult, really difficult. I was like a technical lead for them, and I was really struggling and having a hard time to kind of explain to them and agree with them that if they are not careful with the way they do development, it will backfire, and we will suffer in months or maybe years. And for them, this problem did not exist, which is, I was thinking, hey, if somebody else has to read your code, it's going to be hard to understand. And they said, nobody should read my code. It's my code. And to me, it was the whole collective ownership of application, of code, the fact that you shouldn't spend much time to make small changes, etc., etc. All of this, I had a hard time. So I spoke to two friends of mine who were having the same problem with a different perspective. One of them was trying to get a French bank to get to CMMI level 3. The other one just thought that felt that the way we do development is not good. He used other words, but I'm not gonna say this, as this is recorded. And we all came together to say, hey, what if we could have like a little program that would kind of run in the background and check how people are doing. Hey, Rachel, can you mute? I think there is a little bit of echo from your machine. Thanks. So that's how we started.
Tell me the code that runs in the background, and I know that's a simplification, but tell me about the automation process.
Yeah, so that's how we started to say, hey, it should run at the background. And in the last 15 years, we have really come a long way. And now we have all sorts of processes. You can really think about this as a funnel, which is we really try to catch as many problems as possible when people write code. Similar to, do you use Grammarly? Okay.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you go. Why would you not use Grammarly, right? I mean, some people don't, but you probably catch 95% of problems with Grammarly as you type. Same with what we call SonarLint, which is in the IDE, where developers just type code, and we are going to indicate them that they are making mistakes. There is a better construction here, or by doing this here, they introduce a security vulnerability. So we do that live, basically. And don't get me wrong, we cannot catch 100% of things. So it's a difficult problem to solve on. You cannot find everything real time. So maybe we catch, I don't know, 95% of problems there. Then when people are happy with what they have done, they are going to, what we call, they are going to push it. They are going to create a change request. They say, hey, I'm ready with my code. I would like to submit it for review. And another colleague is going to review their code. And at that stage, what we do is we come, and again, we inspect the kind of the finished, the almost finished product. We inspect it again, and we take more time. We are going to go deeper at this stage. And we basically provide a report to the person who is going to review the code to say, hey, here's what Sonar thinks about your about this code that you are reviewing. So it's a very good complement to a manual review. And then there is, so it's event driven. When somebody submits a change request, we analyze the changes that the person is making to make sure they comply to the standards. And then when people have decided that this is good to go, then we have this, as I mentioned, this kind of automation in the background, which runs whatever. You schedule it. It can be once a day. Once a day is good, but if you want to run it 10 times a day, it's okay, where this is full power. You do full depth analysis for all problems. And if you have done the job properly before, there is very little that we catch at this stage because most of it has been fixed already.
Grammarly is such a great metaphor, especially because it kind of opens this conversation towards not just artificial intelligence, but the machine learning and especially customization. How do you customize this product for your customers?
So I think it's a little bit like Grammarly, which is you can add to it, which is you can decide that you are, you can decide you are going to have the US version of English or the UK, or maybe you can decide you have the French version of English. I don't know if this is an option. And you can add certain words to it, which is you can define that certain words, which are like internal jargon, are going to be acceptable when they are not in the dictionary initially. Mm-hmm. But you cannot change fundamentally the rules of the English grammar, which is you cannot change the core of the product. It's the same for us, which is you can decide that you want all your functions to be named, to have a certain naming convention. You can decide that you want to have all curly brackets on the left or on the right. Okay, as long as you make a choice, it's fine, one or the other. But then when we are talking about code, there is what's considered to be clean code, and there is what's considered to be not clean code, which is a technical debt, because it's gonna make it difficult for others to understand your code. There might be a logical error. There might be like a missing sanity, which leads to a security vulnerability. There might be many things, and this is not really challengeable. So yes, there is a certain level of customization that you can do, but the core of the product is, hey, good code is good code. Good code in a financial industry is roughly the same as good code in the automotive industry. You don't choose what good code is, basically.
That makes a lot of sense. If I understand you correctly, so I'm a writer, I'm not a programmer. However, I've been hacking together PHP and other coding languages for a long time. My code is really ugly. And what this product does is fit my ugly code into standards that reduce what you note and point out, the potential technical debt and the kind of hacky arrangements I might just kind of make up out of my own creativity, and align it with industry standards. Is that kind of in the right ballpark?
Yes, I think it's when Martin Fowler talked about technical debt initially, it was very, how can I say that? It was a very specific perspective that he used to talk about it, which is he talked about the technical debt that you do on purpose, which is to like a shortcut, to save time, you're going to accept to have some not so good code. And I think a lot of it today is actually happens unconsciously, which is developers don't even realize that they are introducing problems. So we are helping them to show them, and they can decide that they want to do it the ugly way. They can make a conscious decision, but at least they know, and they make this conscious. Because most of the time, I would argue that writing good code, writing bad code costs the same. it's not faster to do one or the other, as long as you have something that tells you it's good or it's bad. So what we really provide you is we show you, we highlight what you shouldn't do, and then you have a choice. And sometimes your organization is gonna let you no choice. You have the choice to fix or to not fix.
So I would imagine I can see an answer to the question, who are your customers, being, well, anybody, any site, any developers, any IT department that needs better code is probably your customers. But really, who is your core customer?
I would slightly disagree with what you just said. Absolutely.
Please.
Everybody who writes software needs Sonar. Everybody.
Okay.
And you said the organizations that need clean code, but I would argue all organizations who write software, they need clean code. It's a little bit like if you ask me, if I am the CEO of Grammarly, and you say who should be using Grammarly,
yeah,
he would say, hey, anybody who writes, like who needs to clearly communicate, sure, should use Grammarly. I would say the same. Anybody who is writing non-disposable software should be using Sonar. Disposable being, I'm just doing a little test and I'm going to throw it away in 2 hours. Hey, yes, don't bother with clean code.
What about bugs and cyber? Can it scan my existing infrastructure and detect and automate the detection of vulnerabilities?
So yes, yes, to a certain degree, which is, as you know, we focus on code. We are the home of clean code. So everything which is defined in code, we are going to go after. Whether it's a consistency issue, it's a logical issue, it's logical will lead to bugs. Whether it's you are missing sanitizer, you are hard coding passwords in your code, etc. So everything which is code, we are going to go after, including infrastructure. Nowadays, with infrastructure as code, a lot of infrastructure is deployed through code. So we are going to go after that. And I think something like 90% of security vulnerabilities, they are actually code issues. They are not, I mean, they are security issues as a consequence, but the cause is really a code issue. So this is really what we are after. So all types of problems.
Yeah, I can understand and see how it would be useful broadly. We've touched on automation, but tell me, and again, broadly speaking, tell me how the world is kind of caught up in this AI moment, and there's a lot of hype and hyperbole, but there's also a reality that's impacting businesses. How are you using AI and ML now, and how do you anticipate advances in, say, generative AI could impact not just your product, but the entire industry?
Yes, so still a lot of unknown on this, which is we are just starting on the journey. But I think there are a couple of things which are very exciting for us. One is this generative AI. I think it's a very good news for us, which is one way or another, there will be more code. I think generative AI for sure is going to make developers more productive. If they're going to be more productive, they will write more code, and it may also give access to many more people to writing an application. Again, if everybody can write an application tomorrow, there will be more code. If there is more code, there is more work for us because there will be more need to review that code. And I would even say that the fact that this is generated, similar to, you know, if you, I don't know if you have tried to use ChatGPT to write one of your articles. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but I'm fairly sure that if you use ChatGPT, the first thing you would do would be to, one, try to find the source of the information that ChatGPT has compiled for you, and two, you would probably do like a super ultra careful reading of everything which is in it to make sure there is no ambiguity, that the text makes a lot of sense and is very intentional. Same for us, which is you are going to generate code, which is generative AI is trying to catch your intention by looking at what you are doing now, and it's trying to kind of anticipate what you were about to write. It's going to write it for you as a big block of code. That's great. It looks good, but you certainly want to have like extremely careful review of this code. So I think I would say it's twice an opportunity for us in that respect, which is, one is there will be more code. Two is, as the code is generated, you will want to do the extra mile to verify it. Now, there is a second aspect to this, which is how can we use AI, and that we have been looking at it for a few years now, and we have been working on it because we do not feel that today AI can replace what we do. This is a deterministic approach is still a better approach for now. Might change in the future, but for now, this is still better. However, there are a few things that we cannot do in a deterministic manner, and AI is a great opportunity to actually solve this problem. So the way we are thinking about it for our own product is really to combine a more traditional approach with an AI approach to solve certain problems.
Last question, again, with AI, often we look at this kind of sci-fi future, but project ahead into the near future and the practical future, especially for writing and producing clean code, 36 months. How will not just your industry change, but how will generative AI evolve with the industry?
Or the other way around. How will the industry evolve with AI? I mean, it's difficult to have a definitive answer. My intuition here is, I think generative AI is going to really play a big role for, I would say, good developers to make them more productive. This one, I have very little doubt about it, which is, I think all this low-level work that you have to do when you write an application, you know, all these things you have to do again and again, like technical, some research about how people have done certain implementation, etc. I think this one, generative AI, is going to be of great help to for developers. Now, my intuition, and maybe I'm too old to to change now, but my intuition is that going one step further is going to be a stretch, which is this: anybody can write an application. Sure, you are going to write what's the name of this? Is it Snake? The, you know, this little yeah. Writing a snake, no problem. There are thousands of implementation of this game out there. So AI is going to be able to do a working one for you. But when you are trying to develop certain features, something which is specific to what you are thinking, I have a hard time to really believe that AI will be able to do a complete job. So it's going to do 80 or 90% of the job, and then you are going to have to take it from here to complete it, which, if you're not a developer, I think might be a struggle. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it. But for sure, lots of people are experimenting. lots of people seems to have a different opinion of mine. So I'm looking at this very openly. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen.